the VR project. He went inside and he was able to actually give thanks for the sacrifice that they were making to be able to facilitate this experience for others. So everybody, please put your arms together for Andrew.
Hey, thank you very much for coming. It's really an honor to be able to talk for a few minutes here. Is that better? Okay, I'll just take this man. So about 2 years ago, I got really sick for the first time in my life. I'd always been an atheist, never really believed in anything, been depressed my whole life, suicidal, etc. Something really astonishing happened. Even like this? Okay. But first, I just want to, before I get into that, since we are, the subject is about framing, I just want to give you the definition of framing from Wikipedia. And so in the social sciences, framing comprises a set of concepts and theoretical perspectives on how individuals, groups, and societies communicate about reality. Our reality can change depending on what things happen to us. Larry Harvey, the creator of Burning Man, said, "In contrast with our city's traditional temple at the 12 o'clock position, which fastens our attention on the end of life, this temple is about life's origin. This is not a place of grieving, but will instead evoke nativity and new beginnings." And that's what life is about, new beginnings. Our frame changes in life. Life is constantly dynamic and changing. I was sick in 2015. I had lost 30 pounds, trying to get better from something I didn't understand, I was very afraid of. Lo and behold to me, one day at my sickest point, I saw this image. It came into my consciousness. You may have seen this around here at Burning Man. Anybody know what this is? Seed of life. So this is one of the very many ways that divinity or source could be represented. We see it around here. There's actually there's one right over there on that little end thing, that little bookend I'm looking at right now. Along with it came downloads from various texts I've never heard of or read. It is written, all shall be revealed. That's biblical. I had heard of the Bible. But it also happens to be in the Bhagavad Gita. The karmic law of cause and effect. When I would go to bed at night, I would go to sleep, and I would start to have a feeling I would be pulled out of my body. And it felt like my energy essence was rising out. The next thing I knew, I was no longer with my body, but in a massive spectrum of geometrical patterns or other representations of divinity, of source, of love, of God, of Allah. We can call it whatever we want. There's many different ways to call it, but they all mean the same thing, the unity that we came from and that we strive to get back to. We know that we're not humans, individuals. We know this. We know that we're love. The karmic law of cause and effect is how it explains the world. We say Newton's second law: for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. That's another way of saying karma. We learn lessons on this journey. We're here to learn lessons. In fact, that's what one of the direct commands is, and I'd like to share that with you now. This is another way that it presented itself to me. This is a 4-petaled lotus mandala. It likes to take this form. This is an ancient Hindu image. Here's another one. Here's another one, lotus mandala with what appears to be geometry inside of it. Whenever it appears, the geometry is moving very quickly. It's never static, it's dynamic. These triangles inside, if you've ever seen a yantra, it has a square around it. It's an ancient image that Buddhists, Hindus, other people of Eastern religion have meditated on for thousands of years. Just has a square around it. Otherwise, it looks similar to this. If you sit and look at the image, it can help you to gain a higher level of consciousness. This comes into my consciousness and is always moving very quickly. 2:30 in the morning, and a year ago, this command came through. You chose this life, all of it, every last bit of it, to learn lessons. Karmic lessons as a soul here. This is where it gets confusing. We are not individual. We are all part of oneness. We are fragments of that oneness. In fact, this oneness showed up, again, as a series of peacock leaves in a circle. Peacock feathers, excuse me. Always shimmering. All of these peacock feathers, they look like eyes looking at me. Ever seen the all-seeing eye on the dollar bill? That's what it looks like. It loves to show up as the I for some reason. It calls itself the I. In fact, one time the download was from the Book of John. It said to me at about 3 o'clock in the morning, Book of John, the hour is approaching for the I to be known. And if you go and look up in the Book of John, like I did afterward, sure enough, thank you, there it was. Several references to the hour approaching for God or oneness or the Savior, if you're in Christianity, to be known. And lastly, here's one. I've got a ton of these, but I wanted to share this one. The purpose of life is to rise above the self-constructed ego layer. This is a direct commandment I got in around August 2016. The ego is what results from karma. We do things eternally. Since we are eternal, we're not these individual souls, individual human beings that live and die. It's not true. It's a story. The reality is that we incarnate out of pure choice. We created all of this, every last bit, to learn lessons. And karma is what we accumulate as a result of reactions from our actions, and we learn along the way how to be better people, how to do better things for each other. We're all born with free will, the free will to do whatever we want. Now sometimes we have an agreement that's made before we get here. I'm going to do this many things, I'm going to accomplish this, but we have free will along the journey to make decisions. For me, I apparently was making a lot of decisions that weren't in my best interest because I got super sick. That manifestation of illness came out of making bad decisions over a period of time. Finally, it got to the point where my body got so sick, there was a wake-up call that was inserted, and that's what happened. We're not victims in this life. We choose this experience. We try to blame other people, but the truth is that they're not to blame. We actually put ourselves into every situation that we're in. We're not separate. We're all part of God or oneness or spirit or love. We can call it whatever we want. And we chose to be here. And we could choose not to be here too. But in this particular moment, we are incarnated as what appears to be a human being. This, in fact, is a dream. It's not reality. It's called the divine play in the Vedic scriptures. The Vedic scriptures are ancient texts. They were passed down from meditated yogi to meditating yogi hundreds of thousands of years ago, and finally written down. About a year ago, I got another download in Sanskrit, which of course I don't speak. So I memorized what it looked like at night, and I looked it up in Wikipedia the next day, and the Sanskrit word was Leela. That stands for divine play. That is in the Vedic scriptures. What is divine play? Divine play is when God creates something for the pure bliss of it. And this material manifestation is a result of that. For the souls that have fragmented off from unity, from oneness, appearing in whatever form it would like to. I know that's a ton of information. This talk I gave twice this week. It was an hour and a half, so I'm trying to cram a lot in. So slowing down for a minute. In the end, we are here, and we are here to do our work out of complete freedom. It seems like it's the opposite. I've got to toil, I have to struggle. What do I do tomorrow? How do I get enough money? How do I find fulfillment? But if we step back and look at the greater purpose here, it is to rise above these things that we have gotten ourselves entangled with. Out of no fault, we're in the learning process, much like school. If we have to stay back a grade, if we maybe go ahead a grade, it's all about the own individual's personality and desire. It's not about doing it right or perfect or anything else. That's what this ego, or that accumulated stuff that we're rising above, that's what it's trying to tell us. That's the old story. We have to trust that this isn't a mess that came out of nothingness, and it's all about fear and separation. It's not. This is a learning lesson. We're in school, and over time, we're going to learn the lessons we're meant to learn. Thank you very much.
We are open for questions. If anybody has any thoughts or feelings. Excellent. One moment. Hold on one second. I'll get to you.
I once came up with a notion of a Fibonacci series, like a series of numbers that were somehow related to the golden mean. Do you know anything about that?
Yes. I mean, that's one of the manifestations in the material world of God showing its birth and rebirth process. There's certain patterns we can look at. There was a time in life when I focused on that a lot. We can learn a lot from that. We see it in trees, we see it in ferns, we see it in snails, we see it in communication, the way that communication fractalizes. Look at the internet, it's exploded. You can find a website for every possible thing. It's just blown up. That's a direct metaphor for the spiritual world, which is a constant birth and rebirth, constant manifestation in many ways we can't comprehend because we're in this particular plane.
I really like what you've been speaking about, and I'm curious if, this is a dream, which I kind of prescribe to as well. What would be your take on what is reality?
Well, that's each individual person's.
If the Vedics were saying this is a dream, then what is their reality?
Well, it's interesting, right? I mean, if we look at the Vedic scriptures specifically, they talk about things in a completely different way than, say, Christianity does. So who's right? Well, the answer is everybody's right. If I go to a Hindu temple today, and tomorrow I go to a Christian church, do I have to decide which one of them is right? Absolutely not. I'm learning the lessons in the way that I feel I need to best learn them. And it's about everybody being right. Everybody's in the exact right spot they're meant to be right now. There's no need to change anybody, to dominate anybody, to declare war on anybody. Honoring everybody's direct process at any particular time, no matter what they look like, what their desires are, and all the more important to do it when they hurt us. To honor them, to be compassionate, not to buy into the hurt or the fearful mindset. That just creates more. Law of attraction, karma, same thing.
How did you transform the sorry.
Okay. How did you transform the desire to die? She said that you were suicidal at one point?
Yeah, it resolved itself. Once this started happening, like I walked around with a pit in my stomach most of my whole life, like just hating the world. And over time, it's actually gone away. It's been replaced by this loving presence. I know without a doubt 100% that this is not reality. This is an illusion. It's completely an illusion. And that's what's replaced it. I know that I'm in school, I chose all of it, I'm not a victim, and so that pit feeling of victimness, or there's no point to it, it just goes away when I focus more and more on that positive intention.
Any other questions? Well then, if not, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
This has been a very eye-opening, and I'm like all eye-opening morning. So thank you all for